You don't have to turn them back in now, but make sure by the end of the period today or break time, whenever, you put both both tests just up on here. That's fine. You don't have to bring them up now. Now, if you weren't here yesterday, we took the test, and then after the test, we went over Chapter 13, which is on web promotion, all right? And we went over Chapter 14. You will not be tested on Chapter 14. Chapter 14 is on JavaScript and jQuery. And then what we did after that was we actually went in and started writing some JavaScript. All right. I did want to mention, you know, like I said, you got an email from me, whether you were here yesterday or not. All right. So whether you were here yesterday or not, you got an email from me, and and in that email, what I did was I took everything that we did as a class yesterday. We wrote 2 JavaScript programs. They're there. They've been emailed to you. So what I'm going to do in a few minutes, not now, but I'm going to go over and fairly quickly review those in case you weren't here yesterday. The other thing is I'd mentioned that there was this really neat site called hunlock.com, but it's no longer active. Well, Brady, who knows much more hardware than I do, even though that's not technically hardware, found an archived version of it, and I sent that to you also. So this is that site that I told you about, and again, thank you. The site is ugly. It's the archive site for hunlock.com. But notice, Essential JavaScript, a JavaScript tutorial. This walks you through the entire language, right here. Then they break it down into individual components. So here's JavaScript and numbers, JavaScript and strings, JavaScript and arrays, JavaScript and functions. And something we won't have enough time to go through, but it's important that you at least, if you get a chance, look at this. It's something that's called JSON, which stands for JavaScript Object Notation. All right, it'll become important. We'll talk about it a little bit, but not a lot. Date handling, and also Ajax for noobs. Noobs means newbies, you know, so people who don't know too much or are just learning. Ajax, again, is asynchronous JavaScript and XML. All right, we're not going to talk about any of those now, but again, you were sent that, and I would strongly suggest that you go over here and you bookmark that. All right, there's just so much information in there. If you say, well, I don't want to, then don't. All right, but like I said, I would suggest that you do. All right. So where we are in here is yesterday was supposed to be that Udemy rather, PSD. I decided not to go through the rest of that. I've been having so many problems with the sound in this machine. I was jacking with it last night. I'm actually trying to get way ahead. I've got 30 lectures out there already for the C# class in spring. I'm going to have to redo the lectures for the ASP.NET because we're going to use a different book than the one I used when we did the lectures previously. But right now, the book that Evan plans on using for Java, I've already gone through the first 10 of 16 chapters in there. I was doing that last night, but because it was more exciting than watching Mike Pence and Tim Kaine. At least I thought it was. So I've been doing that, but the sound was real funky again last night. So we're ahead in that we've already done the stuff for tomorrow. We've gone through Chapter 13. We've gone through Chapter 14. All right. According to this, 10:10, which is, I guess that's next Monday, we'll take the test on Chapter 13. I don't have any problem doing that. Or we can take it on Friday, and I don't really care, whichever way you want to do it. But what I'm going to do right now is if you've got those test review pages with you. Let's just go over those. All right? And then we've got that out of the way. So like I said, it's one less thing that we have to worry about. So the first question on there is, what are the components of a search engine? And these are the three components. This material, because I did it very quickly right before class, is literally right out of the book. All right? The first question on the test is something like, which components make up a search engine? And it's like A is robots, B is database, C is search form, D is all of the above. So I don't know about you, but I'd say D, all of the above. So just remember, robot, database, search form. You don't have to write all the other stuff in there. All right? Number two, again, as I mentioned, these are taken right out of the book. What's a meta tag and how are they used? It's a self-contained tag. It's something that you put in the head section. And what it does is it helps with that topic that we talked about yesterday, SEO, which is search engine optimization. You can put not just the meta tag we've used, where we say char set equals UTF-8. You don't need that. Or, I mean, that's not the only one that you need to put in there. You do need it. You should at least. But you can put in description tags, author tags, and there's other meta tags. If you want to learn more about them, and maybe you have no desire to, but if you do, you can always go out to w3schools.com and search for meta tags. And it'll show you all of them, and it'll give you a lot of information. So just remember, more or less, it's a self-contained tag that's in the head section and that allows for search engine optimization, and you should be fine. Number three, what is the first step in submitting a website to a search engine? Step one is to visit the search engine website and look for a link that either says add site or list URL or something like that. But the key thing is that the first step is to go out to the actual website, or the search engine website itself. The example I gave yesterday is I said if I wanted to start creating Jeff's Sporting Goods, that I would go out to Google and I would find that, find the add site or the list URL link. It's going to ask me some questions online, and the way that it works, then I'll have to submit the site to it. It'll go through the site and look at it. If it deems that it's appropriate and good, then sooner or later, after several weeks, it'll actually be out there. So if I go into Google and I type in sporting goods, Jeff's Sporting Goods should appear in there someplace. All right, that was the idea behind it. Number four, what's the difference between a search engine and a search index? A search engine is software. A search index is something compiled by human beings. Again, some of you may have some of these answers already, because yesterday was the first time I gave out the review sheet before we went over the chapter. So some people were filling it out while we were going over the chapter. All right. In an ideal world, I would have the review sheets done before I go over the chapter. I'd love to do that and have the time to go through and create review sheets for the JavaScript book before we start the book. I don't know if I'll have time to do that or not. If I do, I will. Number five, what is a website log? It consists of one or more text files that record each visit to the site. They capture visitor information. So in other words, the example I gave yesterday is if you have 500 hits on a website, there's a big difference between one person going out there 500 times and 500 people each going out there once. All right, so the log will give you some of that information. Any questions on any of these first five? 6, what is a rating that's determined, that is determined by a search engine based on the number of links to a site? It's called link popularity. Shouldn't take long to write that one down. Link popularity. Number 7, how do most visitors find websites? They use search engines. And one of the answers to a question later, and you probably all know this, I asked yesterday and people gave the right answer. The number 1 search engine is Google. I think that's the second last question, and they've got about 70% of the market. All right. Bing is next, and after that is Yahoo. They both have 9+%. But I will tell you that if either Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump was running at 70% right now, they'd probably both feel a lot more confident than they actually do. Number 8, what is a promotion method used for bringing return visitors to websites? The answer is newsletters. There are other ones too, but that's the one I believe that's put on the test. Number 9, what is a website impression? It's your feeling that you get when you go to a website. It's your impression. It's just like your impression of anything else. You might have walked in here to class and you sat in here for the first lecture. You probably had an impression of me. You probably had an impression of what the course would be about. All right? Maybe after you went and listened that first day when we went to the other building and you listened to the shtick all about Rankin, then maybe you had an impression about what Rankin was about. All right? Number 10, what is stickiness? It's the ability to keep users, not at your at your site. So remember, it's important that you get users to come to your site, but once they come there, you want to keep them there, regardless of what the site is. Especially if it's some kind of an e-commerce site where you're selling a good or you're selling a service. You want to keep them there because ideally you want them to buy something from your site, for example. So stickiness is the ability to keep them at your site. Number 11, what parts of a site are examined and are not examined? All right, basically everything on a website is examined unless you take that into what you don't want examined and you put it in a robots.txt file, and then it'll skip it. But by and large, virtually everything is going to be examined. Every single file, everything that you've got in there. So if you don't want it to be indexed, all right, you can put it in a robots.txt file, or you can add a robots meta tag to it. You can do either one of those. And actually, probably do both. There are typically pages on a website that you use to help you with other pages that other people shouldn't see. So private pages, so to speak, are those that you would not want to have examined by a search engine robot. Hopefully that makes sense. All right, number 12. Is all the work for search engine optimization worth it? And they said in the book, yes it is. Most places consider whatever you have to do for search engine optimization to be a cost of doing business. Number 13, what is CTR? Again, right out of the book. CTR stands for click-through rate. It's the number of times an ad is clicked as opposed to the number of times the ad is viewed. Remember, analytics can figure out how long you're on a page. So if I click and it brings up an ad, all right, and it's, for example, and I'm not trying to be funny, but it's on some kind of a female product, I probably wouldn't want to look at it or look through it. So even though I click on it, I might leave there right away. All right, so that's what the click-through rate, CTR, is all about. That's good. Somehow I lost the answer to that question. What is social media optimization? Well, I'm just going to go back and kind of... In fact, let's Google it. How's that? Basically, it is the use of social media on a website. So it's anything from Pinterest to Facebook to Twitter to LinkedIn, etc. There we go. Oops. Put it, bless you, put it right there. Now this isn't the answer out of the book, but this should be good enough. Creating what? Creating content that is easily shareable. Thank you. All right. Oops. And if you want the answer that was from, here's another one. The use of social media outlets in communities to generate publicity to increase awareness of a product, service, brand, or event. And you might say, no, I like the first one better, it's less writing. Okay. And typically the author pretty much, as you know, asks questions based on the way she put things in the book. All right, number 15, again, right out of the book, what are web analytics? The measurement, collection, analysis, and reporting of internet data for the purposes of understanding and optimizing web usage. And we talked a little bit yesterday about the fact that, for example, Google provides free analytics. In fact, they're referred to as Google Analytics. And it gives you things like, at what time of the day did most people visit your site? Okay. What pages did they spend the most time on? What pages did they skip, if any? That kind of an idea. Number 16, what is a QR code? As it says, it's a two-dimensional barcode. It's one of those pictures that almost looks like a design or something like that, that quite often you'll go and you'll link to it with your phone. You know, I know McDonald's for a long time had things like that, and if you did that, you could get coupons or whatever it happened to be. Funny, I don't know if you've ever done this, but I hate going into a gas station and having 3 people in front of me who are buying lottery tickets. I hate even more when I have people in front of me who want to know whether or not they won from their lottery ticket. Okay? Just because to me, I want to pay for my gas and get the hell out. That's how I feel. But eventually, I think there'll be some kind of a QR code reader at all these gas stations where people will go up and do that themselves. And if they win, they'll have to still go to the back, you know, they won't get the money or whatever right away, but then they'll know. And they, you know, to me, that'll make it a little bit nicer. And maybe you think, oh, he's just a crotchety old guy. Well, that might be true, but at the same time, I hate that if I've worked all day and I stop to get gas and somebody's in front.
They already have the standards of gas stations, people just don't pay for them.
Yeah, Okay, well, and when somebody comes in, which one should I buy? You know, it's like when they go in there and they start looking through cigarettes. You know, buy one or just leave. Right? What's a sitemap? An XML sitemap. The key thing there is an XML sitemap is used by search engine, but it's not accessed by visitors. Because XML almost looks like HTML. And so to see an XML sitemap wouldn't make a lot of sense for most people looking at a site unless they had HTML or XML knowledge. It wouldn't help them very much. Probably find it more confusing than anything else. Looks to me like that might be one of the true-false questions on there. I don't remember. This is number 17 of 19. The next one again is Google. What's the most popular search engine? So I'll leave this up in case you're still writing it down. But number 18 is Google. Last one, number 19, what is an affiliate program? It's where one website promotes another website's product or service in exchange for a commission. Right, you probably have seen that where, and sometimes, I've been asked that a couple times by YouTube. I can put ads out on where I've got my YouTube channel, and then if you click the ad, I get some money. It's usually like just a few cents. You know, and I know a lot of people who do that, and they get checks every month for anywhere from maybe $10 to $15. I don't put that stuff out there to make money, so I just always ignore that stuff. Any questions on any of these? Any one that you need me to go back to? Would you rather take the test tomorrow or Friday? Not everybody at once. Somebody say something. Friday? Okay, does that work for everybody? All right, we'll do that first thing on Friday. That will again be the last test that you'll have for the HTML portion of the class. All right, you will have 8 tests that are going to be like this for the JavaScript portion of the class. I'm going to have to go through those because those questions by default, I just copied them all over. They have like 30 questions for each one. I think that's too many. I'll probably cut about 4 of them off for each chapter and make it 25. All right, so there's no questions? All right, let me stop this quickly.